Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at Hasbro's Overwatch Ultimates 2-pack featuring Mercy and Farah. Farah is one of my favorite characters in the game, mostly because it looks like a flying Samus. And Mercy is one of my favorite character designs in the game. I think it's one of the most cohesive designs. So very pleased with the fact that they released these two. But I'm also very pleased with the fact that they are surprisingly good for a $20 per figure price point. Very nice indeed. So let's go ahead and get them off the stand and take a closer look. Since this is a 2-pack, we're going to be doing the individual reviews all in one. I'm going to start with Farah, then we'll switch over to Mercy, and then we'll do a final verdict overall for the 2-pack. But starting with Farah, this figure stands just about 16.5 centimeters, which makes her just about 6.5 inches, which is pretty good scale-wise. She's relatively tall in the game, so that's fine. And right off the bat, aesthetically speaking, they nailed it. For a Hasbro figure at 20 bucks, holy crap. This figure has buttloads of paint on it, and it's all pretty clean. The molded blue part is metallic, so they didn't have to paint any of that, but they painted the gold details on there, on the knees, the hips, all throughout the torso, and the arms and shoulders. There's silver in there too. The head is painted underneath the face mask. You can see her face in there. That's pretty good. I guess it's not that much paint, but it's a decent amount. And then we have her little missile on the side here. That's pretty good. And we have the translucent thruster thingies in the back, which you do have to add on your own. But I like that we got that. Translucent plastic always makes things look cooler. They did a good job here. And aesthetically, even though this is kind of like Articulation, you can open this up. There you go. So you can have all four of them going, and that's really nice. Yeah, these are hollow, so that's not a great situation, but it's barely noticeable, and that's really cool. So aesthetically speaking, this figure gets a 9 out of 10. There's not a whole lot they needed to do to make this much better. At the price point, sure, I mean, you could spend $500 and make it look a whole lot better, but at 20 bucks, this is pretty damn good. So there you go. Aesthetics are on point. As far as accessories for Farah, we have the 2 fist hands, then we have 2 trigger finger hands, but it's really just 1 trigger finger hand and 1 secondary hand. Still very hard for her to hold her gun with both hands, but we do have her gun, and it is very nicely detailed. That's pretty cool. You can count the blast effect thingies for her wings if you want to as accessories, because you do have to put them on yourself. And then we do also get a little display stand. It looks nice. The mechanism in it is kind of cheap, but it definitely holds her off the ground with very little effort, so that's fine. That's a nice bit. So accessories for Farah, 8 out of 10. I think that's pretty good. I don't know what else we could really get with her, so I am pleased with that. Okay, so on to the articulation. I'll talk about these first, then I'm going to take them off so they're kind of not in the way. They do connect on a ball peg, so they move around as one giant thing, though they're kind of heavy, so they want to sag. But they can't sag too far, so it's not a huge deal. I haven't really noticed too many problems, though. Like, they're staying where I put them, so that's okay. You may run into issues, so be aware of that. But they do have that hinge mechanism, so you can group them up if you want to, or not. So I really like that. Even though it's not the best situation, they did a pretty good job. I will point out one thing here. Those guys pop off, so if you don't want them, they have teeth on here, but those teeth don't really do anything. I don't know if they just did that for aesthetics, but the teeth don't even touch, so I'm not really sure what they're going for. But whatever. On to the rest of the articulation. The head is on a ball peg, so it moves around on top of the neck pretty well. Full rotation, a little bit forward and back. There is a hinge, but there's really no place for her head to go other than down, so you're not going to really be able to use that too much. But for what you have here, that'll be just fine. That's no problem at all. For these shoulder pads, they are kind of bulky, so you might think they're going to get in the way a lot, but they're on a really effective ball peg. They can rotate around just fine, and then they have a decent range also, so that's pretty good. And of course, that ball peg is connected to the shoulder, so they're not going to get in the way all that much. But we're going to pop this one off so we can actually test it. The shoulder does not raise quite up horizontally, but it goes pretty close. It's probably good enough, especially given the big shoulder pads anyway, so that's fine. You do have your full rotation. You have a bicep swivel, though this one's kind of loose on mine. It makes holding the gun a little difficult, so it's very loose. This one is too, so hopefully that's not the case for everybody. That's kind of a bummer. Only a single jointed elbow on this figure, which is less than 90 degrees. That's definitely a bummer. The wrists have a swivel and a hinge. She does have a diaphragm joint up here, which is a really good one. Far better than all the other ones on these figures. Leans forward, leans back, it goes side to side. Really nice. It is a great diaphragm joint. And she does also have that reverse ab crunch, which is fine on this figure, even though it cuts out the waist twist. It definitely could be better, but since this is such a good diaphragm joint, kind of makes up for it. And since this is hidden and not ugly at all, like on Soldier 76 or Anna, or, well, I guess Mercy's okay. It's easily the best one they've released so far, at least that I've seen, so that's okay. For the hips, you can bring them pretty far forward, not quite all the way, but that's okay. Going all the way back, not quite, but pretty far. Given the armor on her legs, I think that's reasonable. Going out to the sides, you are limited by the armor, but definitely enough for any necessary posing, so that's good. Thigh swivels in there. Double jointed knee is solid, no problems there. And then for the ankle, it's kind of a weird design, but it works. It goes pretty far back, just a little bit forward. That's actually pretty good going forward. And then you do get a really solid ankle rocker out of that swivel hinge. So her articulation in the arms is somewhat mediocre at best, but then the rest is really solid. So I'm going to give it to her. I'm going to say, no pun intended, I'm going to say 8 out of 10. It's a really, really strong release. Very, very nice, especially for 20 bucks. I like it a lot. Let's set it aside and look at Mercy. Mercy stands just about 6 1/4 inches, not counting her ponytail that sticks up a little bit. That makes her just about a little under 16 centimeters, so that's okay, it's not too bad. And the first thing I notice here is that we have some discoloration, and that's probably not going to be universal, but her boobages are definitely discolored. There's like black schmutz up there, which is a problem. That is no good. But otherwise, it's pretty good. We have the shading in the orange on the forearms. We have the yellow painted here. We have the shading here. The silver's painted very nicely. The cream color is painted on there as well. A little bit glossy, but it matches the wings, so it maybe was intentional, though it probably shouldn't have been. We do have the shading back here again too, and a lot more more noticeable throughout the arms. All in all, it's a pretty good paint job. We have the brown legs, kind of like a gunmetal here, more brown down there. The face is done really nicely, especially for a Hasbro figure. That looks like Mercy. That looks like it's supposed to. So that's awesome. The little halo thingy is a separate piece, and we got the translucent wings, which I guess you could count as an accessory, but they're always going to be on there, so that's fine. Logos here, a little more detailing throughout. Very, very good job overall. I'm not going to worry. I'm not going to review it as far as the smudging goes, because that shouldn't be there. For everybody else, it's probably just bad luck on my part, but still, it's like an 8 out of 10 for aesthetics. Very, very well done at a $20 price point. Very nicely done. As for accessories, well, she has one fist hand and one style pose hand, and then she has 2 trigger finger hands, or gripping / trigger finger hands, because we do get her pistol, which is nicely detailed, and then we do get her staff, which also has an energy effect with some shading on it, and that looks really, really nice. So she doesn't have a ton of accessories, but it's definitely enough, and you could technically count the wings as well, which are done really, really well. So accessories for her, I'm gonna say only 8 out of 10. I think we've got everything we need for her. Maybe a different, doesn't she have 2 different colors of energy effects for her staff? I think that's how she works. I can't remember anymore since I stopped playing the game, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So maybe we could get better, but you know what? I'll say 7. 7 out of 10 for the accessories. On to the articulation. The head is on a ball peg on top of the neck, which moves around very nicely. No lollipop syndrome here, Hasbro. Apparently they're saving that just for the Marvel Legends. There is a hinge, so you can have her look down if you want. Does it help looking up? Yeah, a little bit. She can look up, so that's okay. If you didn't notice, the wings do have a ball peg on them, so they move around a little bit. Not a ton, but definitely enough. Shoulders are on a ball hinge, so they can go all the way horizontal. Full rotation, except for the shoulder pads get in the way. Even though they're soft, they still do block it a little bit, so that's somewhat limited. No bicep swivel, except for down here at the elbow, which is about a 90-degree bend. And then your swivel. You have a swivel for the wrist and a hinge. Diaphragm joint on this figure, just like Farah, very, very effective. No problem with that at all. Reverse ab crunch works nicely on this figure. It's hidden well, and it's effective, so that's fine. Only downside is the lack of a waist twist, but this is a pretty good example of how you can make this articulation work. These are soft pieces, so let's see how the hips work. And going out to the side, you get better than 45, so that's really nice. Going forward, somewhat encumbered. not very far, only about 45 degrees. Can't go back at all. Thigh swivel works no problem. Double jointed knees, though you probably won't be using them too much, they work no problem. And then for the ankle, goes all the way back, not very far forward, but a little bit. Then you do get kind of an ankle rocker, but it's mostly useless. So articulation is again the weak point on this figure. It's not bad though, I'm gonna say 7 out of 10. And now it's time for the final verdict of these two figures. Of course I don't have Farah's jetpack thingies on there, but all in all, for a $40 2-pack, this is maybe the best value I've seen ever. These figures all have unique sculpts, more than reasonable amount of paint, plenty of accessories, clear parts, painted parts, accurate sculpts for the most part, and decent enough articulation to get by. I'm very impressed, frankly, by this 2-pack. This one in particular, the other one's decent enough, but this one is really something else. So I am very pleased. I'm going to give this 2-pack, for the price point, a 9 out of 10. There's plenty of room to be improved, but for 40 bucks, I don't think you're going to find a better 2-pack of any figure out there from any company than this one. This is an exceptional 2-pack. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do please give it a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. And if you didn't, well, you can give it a thumbs down. That's okay too. If you didn't though, you might want to check out my other reviews because I've got like 3,000 of them and you might find something you like. And if you don't, you could subscribe because I do have new videos coming out just about every single day. So make sure you come back for that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.